For too long has Chelsea's attack relied on individuals, footballers that are regarded as talented but have been bought from different regimes with different ideals, different tactics and ideas. It's time Chelsea rebuilt the attack from the ground up. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is precisely what Mauricio Pochettino is doing.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy talk. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I'm sure by now lots of people have digested and enjoyed Chelsea's victory over Brighton. Not flawless, but much to get excited about. Not least the new chemistry, high-octane nature of the Chelsea forwards. This is really promising for Chelsea fans, and indeed, the average football fan should enjoy better visual experiences out of the Chelsea team moving forwards. Like I said, for too long have Chelsea relied on players from fragmented regimes overlapping with no chemistry and bought in terms of being different profiles. It would seem finally that a bunch of players are being brought together for a cause. Now, I know Nkunku was decided to be purchased a while ago, but, you know, they know that he's a very versatile profile. And in the space of 6 months, Chelsea have, of course, purchased Mudryk and Nicola Jackson. It's thinking of the same sort of ideas with the sporting directors that we've got now. Finally, some joined up thinking. And it does look like Chelsea are interested in Mohamed Kudus. I've put him in this theoretical lineup for the attack. I do believe it will be someone like him or Ryan Cherki, though because Mohamed Kudus wants the move, he's told the people at Ajax he wants to go. I think a deal is there to be done with Chelsea. Chelsea have, of course, done business with Ajax not too long ago, purchasing Hakim Ziyech off them, when many clubs didn't want to buy Ziyech. Oddly, it was a strange one because he seemed like such a great player. But I guess in the end we sort of saw why. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me. I'm looking forward to doing this video. I'm going to hit the microphone first. I'm going to read a little article from Nizar Kinsella, I believe. Yes, I am. And then I'm going to talk about this potential devastating lineup. So thank you for your likes and subscriptions, and let's get into it. So Nizar Kinsella writes 3 takeaways from that game yesterday. Of course, I went into detail on my thoughts after watching the entire match this morning, and apart from saying 4-1 somewhere at the beginning of the video, I knew it was 4-3. I think I pretty much asserted my feelings pretty well on the match. If you want my detailed opinion on that, please do consider watching my previous upload. In the meantime, let's see what Nizar is saying. Christopher Nkunku and Nicolas Jackson scored in Chelsea's exciting 4-3 win over 10-man Brighton, in Philadelphia. The club's new signings continue to impress with the early goals and assists, providing hope that the Mauricio Pochettino era will soon get up and running. Well, it already looks like we've got an idea, and it looks like the players are there fit for purpose and they all know what they're doing. The ones that are on pre-season are committed. Granted, there might be a couple that go on loan, but they'll go on loan hoping to come back to this team. There's no players there that want away from Chelsea. That's massive already. And of course, we know we've got the galvanizing effect of new manager Mauricio Pochettino, which has been a huge positive. So the feeling's good, and we're already seeing a plan come together on the pitch when you watch the team, as well as of course, fitness levels being increased massively. Not marginally, thank goodness, because we wouldn't even be able to run still if it was only marginal, considering the fitness levels from last season. So the likes of Mudryk, who still feels like a fresh arrival, he excelled at Lincoln Financial Field, which is the stadium. Returning loanees in the shape of Levi Colwill, Andre Santos, Ian Matson and Malo Gusto could all play big roles next season, as the Standard Sport looks at 3 things we've learned from the opening Premier League Summer Series match. So he's starting with the aforementioned electric Super Saiyan, Mudryk. Mudryk can come good. The £88 million Ukrainian winger, £62 million. I know this is like nitpicking, and you always get my neck. I've done my neck in, by the way. And you always get people saying this, defending their own players. They'll never like intervene when it's like another club got it incorrectly, to sort of let it float. But when it's your own crest, it's your own flag, it's your own club, you have to sort of interject and go, actually, Nazar, 62 million up front can go up to 88 million if he wins the Premier League and Champions League, at which point we won't care. It's just really important to say that, I think. He showed very little to excite Chelsea supporters last season, but was electric in his first appearance for Pochettino. He showed a couple of things last season, to be entirely fair to him. Of course, when he came in at Anfield for his debut, it looked like he was just here to absolutely eat up the Prem. But, you know, of course, from Chelsea just being an absolute circus last season and no one fitting in and developing and, you know, all that kind of lark, you have to remember his country is in a great conflict. And that can be emotional when you're away from home and all this kind of stuff. So it's important to note that. So he had the beating of Brighton's defensive line and exploited the space in behind well. Yes, when he came on, his runs in behind and working the channels was a lot more effective than perhaps Ian Maatsen, who you can't really expect to be like a channel runner, a shoulder on the shoulder kind of thing, really. Because he's a fullback by nature and a bit more of, I guess, closer to a sort of winger, tricky winger, rather than this forward that wants to run in behind. It can be so effective in the Premier League. You know, just ask Jamie Vardy, who just scored 1,000 goals in a row, just running in behind like that. In the 64th minute, he scored with a spectacular volley that could provide him with a springboard in his career at Stamford Bridge. And I'm pleased he scored that goal against a good Premier League team in Brighton that clearly were taking it very seriously with all the combativeness, the cards, the, you know, getting at the referee, the atmosphere. It certainly wasn't a friendly, but, you know, it meant more he scored in that game rather than, you know, 4th Division Wrexham, for example. So, yes, Mudryk, he does look like the future, and if I was Raheem Sterling, I would be getting more and more concerned. Like, Sterling looks like he's doubting himself, and he's meant to be this senior guy who just makes the decisions and knows what he's doing. And, you know, he deserves a great deal of respect, Sterling. He's still in his prime. He's won 4 Premier Leagues, multiple cups, you know, loads of Champions League experience, loads of experience of England reaching, you know, finals and semi-finals. So, you know, he's not written off, but you got, like I said in this morning's video, if Mudryk can sustain these kind of, you know, performances and moments, but from the beginning of a game and scoring in the first half and doing the defensive work rather than being utilised as a closer, which, you know, of course he could do. He's still young. If he works really hard, he's certainly got the athleticism to work hard. And if he really applies himself, he could just be a starter sooner rather than later. So I would be worried if I was Sterling, especially if we sign Mohamed Kudus as well. So we move on to the second talking point, and one that's really vogue and understandably today. Jackson, the target man, you know. Nicholas Jackson is looking capable of becoming Chelsea's back-to-goal striker. And you need a bit of that, you know. Even the best, most silky, nice strikers, they still have that ability to play back-to-goal, link-up play. You know, you don't have to just be like an Olivier Giroud target man. It's no disrespect to Giroud, who in his own way is an amazing, amazing striker. But, you know, like if you look at the best strikers, Lewandowski and Benzema and stuff like that, they still can play with their back to goals. So within a minute of coming on, the £30 million signing spun into space and then played a 1-2 with Mudryk, who scored an important goal. His strength in the box allowed him to hold off Brighton defenders, who, by the way, are big boys as well, which, of course, he freed Conor Gallagher to score that goal. And Jackson was given man of the match after running in behind confidently to score Chelsea's 4th goal. And it was a thing of beauty. It was a proper centre-forwards performance all round in terms of holding the ball out, playing his teammates in, and scoring, like I said this morning, a conventional centre-forwards goal. It was just a thing of beauty. Colwell's secret weapon is Nazar's third point here. The 20-year-old has been the centre of a transfer tussle between the two clubs. Excuse me, got the hiccups and burps. It's disgusting. His exceptional long balls kept releasing Ben Chilwell down the left flank and caused problem for his former loan club. And also he was doing those beautiful passes outside of the boot, which are a thing of beauty as well. Whenever I think of that, I always think of, I know, like Thiago Silva doing it as well, but I always think of two players, Luka Modric and Ricardo Quaresma. He loved an outside the boot pass. Probably did it too much, actually. But when you see like a 20-year-old centre-back doing it, it's beautiful stuff indeed. He was competent defensively and even got a cross on it to threaten the Brighton goal. Of course, he did give away a penalty towards the end. That would have to be coached out of them. Don't need to speak about Levi Colwill. We did this morning. Pochettino has spoken on him, like trying to shut everyone up about it, saying that this guy is our player. He will remain with us, and he will be very good. Good. So Chelsea's attack. Well, in these times being linked with strikers over and over, the fact how Pochettino is turning to Nkunku to play a striker a little bit, but also Jackson doing these performances, winning man of the match, won't do anything to hurt his chances of just going into next season as Chelsea striker. I mean, if you held a poll now to Chelsea fans and said, you know, would you have Jackson as the starting striker next season? Yes or no? Do you know what I mean? I think many people would probably say, yeah, let's do it. Do you know what I mean? So Jackson could be Chelsea's starting striker. Also, Nkunku could be. The left wing, I think, I don't want to jump ahead of myself. He still has to prove himself in 90 minutes, and especially competitive minutes as well, Mudryk. But it could just be Mudryk on the left, especially if he, just really, really knuckles down in terms of the tactical plan, knows what he's doing. He's had a few months now with Chelsea, 6-7 month pre-season, you could call it. Him on the left wing, Jackson up front. Pochettino said in his post-match press conference after that Brighton game that he play Nkunku and Jackson together. Now, I don't know if he wants to play Jackson on the wing, because if Jackson was playing as a wing at Villarreal before he was converted into a striker. So, and then playing Nkunku down the middle, or playing Nkunku in this number 10 position. I'm interested to see if Pochettino, because this is kind of why we bought him, and this is what all the analysts, football nerds, football fans, managers and pundits are saying. They're like, yeah, he'll play in the number 10. He'll play in Pochettino's 4-2-3-1 number 10. That's why they've got Nkunku. But we haven't seen him play there yet, and I wonder if Pochettino's done a lot of analysis on him about how he wants to play now with his 4-2-3-1. And I wonder if he's looking at Nkunku going, I'd rather at the moment play Chukwuemeka or Gallagher there, or someone. I don't know. I mean, you'd have to assume eventually, sooner rather than later, it might be a Newcastle game, Dortmund, Fulham game, that you see him playing in number 10, because he says that you see him play together. So you'd have to imagine one in front of the other, and it would be Jackson up front with Nkunku in behind. And if Nkunku retains all the instructions from Pochettino of how to play there, then, we're going to have a sensational front four and a sensational attack. And I would really like that attack to be completed by Mohamed Kudus. Now, all we've got in terms of reports of this so far is the player would be keen to join, and he's told Ajax his desire to leave this window. Chelsea have made an inquiry of Ajax if they can buy him. Ajax generally sell their players, especially if they haven't, they charge a lot of money for Anthony. Too much money for Anthony to Manchester United, but they'd already sold them Lisandro Martinez, and I think they just didn't need the money, so they were like doing what Brighton are doing now with Moises Caicedo. They didn't need the money. They understand he's a desired asset, so they will take up the opportunity to sell him if it's for a lot of money. But I don't necessarily think that's the case this time around with Ajax and Kudus. I think presumably there might be a deal to be done, but we'll have to see how that news develops in the coming days and weeks. Ideally days, but that would be a really, really great player to have on the right flank that can go in the middle as well, because he's left-footed, so he can play on the right wing. He's played on the right wing at Ajax, and then you could get, to be honest, with he's played everywhere at Kudus, by the way. We read that and short analysis on him in terms of his positions that he's played. He's played all over the ruddy gaff. But yeah, ultimately, you could be in a position where you could have Nkunku, Jackson, and then Kudus on the right, and they could just literally rotate, just round and round and round. Certainly Jackson plays on, wide and in the middle. Whether he'd want to sit in behind, I'm not so sure. But the versatility in those players alone is pretty profound, and suddenly, you could have a really, in the same way we were talking about in the previous video about Chilwell and Maatsen just swapping down the left flank, you can have these players swapping, and with lots of interchanging, that poses great difficulty for opposition players and opposition managers. They just don't really know what to do with him. So yeah, it could be really, really good. Of course, this is not me saying, here we go, and Kudus. It's just the player, once Chelsea made an inquiry, I would be very excited to get him. He's still very young. Noni Madueke and Angelo Gabriel might not like that because they want to play on the right. But because he can play in the middle behind as well, suddenly your strikers, you just got different options. And you've got different options that are all good. You no longer have a bloated squad. Yes, we might have 3 striker options in Jackson, Bruya and Nkunku. But, Jackson can play wide, Nkunku can play behind, Bruya can play in a double striker system. Yes, you might have like Madueke and Kudus on the right, but Kudus can play in the middle, as in like, you can play anywhere apparently. He's played everywhere, but he can play as a cam really, really well. So you've got all these players that aren't just deadwood floating around, sitting on the bench, making matchday squads. They can all be utilised, and we can have a big squad again, or at least a big squad considered for a 1 game a week campaign. But that's okay, because there's 5 substitutions and you can rely on all of them. And if there's a good feeling, you can really utilise that. If you're playing 1 game a week, you can put lots of planning in to the opposition that you play every week. And then you can put lots of planning into the 5 subs as well. You've got the time to do it. You can make sure you've got an ace up your sleeve. You can make sure there's a really potent plan B. And a potent plan B will require a different personnel, of which you will have more. So that's what I wanted to talk about, friends. Let me know what you think. I want to see what people's opinions are on the new attacking Kudus, if you think we should sign him. Basically, it's very interesting to gauge the fan opinion. And thanks for joining me. Yeah, if you want to keep it locked, press the bell, and I'll be back very soon. So I look forward to seeing you guys here. Peace.